So I'm asked many questions and hear many comments when it comes to singing and the voice, and one of the comments I hear quite often from people is, I don't like the sound of my voice, or can you help me change the sound of my voice? Well, first of all, what really has to do with the sound of your voice is a whole bunch of genetic combinations of things. The size of your vocal tract, the texture of your vocal cords, the length and size of your vocal cords, the size of the chambers that are inside your head in the back of your face. All of those are factors that have to do with what you really sound like. But when someone says that to me, what I really believe they're saying is that they don't understand that you really can learn how to make your voice sound beautiful. And the truth is that we all have very unique, separate sounding voices, and all of them can be trained to sound much more beautiful than they did before that training. One of the aspects of that particular training is understanding a little bit more about what I like to call chord compression. That has to do with the resistance of your vocal cords as you're bringing air through it. And as you're bringing the air through the vocal cords, if you're getting a very loose, breathy sound versus a more resistant sound with more resonance, or a tight squeezed, overly squeezed sound, all of those are sounds that we can produce, anybody can produce with their voice simply by doing right and wrong things. Now, first of all, what are breathy chords, or what's a breathy sound? It's when the chords are very, very loose and the air's not coming through very with much resistance. So if I go that's very breathy. As opposed, same notes. That's very different. There's more bite or resonance in that sound. And why, or how did I change that? Simply by changing the intensity of my vocal cords. Now, on any one note, we can be anywhere from I went from very loose to extremely tight, over-squeezed, pushed sound. Now, obviously, the very, very loose and the very, very over-squeezed tight are incorrect and can even be detrimental for your voice if you try to push too hard on either one of those extremes. Hard pushing on whispering is pretty dangerous and bad for your vocal cords because they're not making a good seal and you're pushing a lot of air through it. Obviously, pinched and squeezed, really tight vocal cords is not good because you're pushing them too tight. Neither one of those sound all that well. Now, stylistically, somebody may say, hey, wait a minute, I want to start a phrase out kind of breathy. That's okay stylistically, and people do it all the time. But in relationship to technique and starting to get your voice to sound like something, what you want to be able to do is get more compression in your sound. And you might ask the question, well, how do I do that? I'm going to give you a little hint right now. First of all, in everything in voice, it has to do with your pronunciation of consonant-vowel combinations. Different sounds help us discover different things about the voice, as well as some sounds just flat out give us a lot of trouble. Now, if you take an A vowel sound, A-Y, A, 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 all of that has more compression in it. So the sound itself, practicing with that sound, will help you start to discover what that feels like. Now, the voice actually has three places that you need to learn how to vocalize in. What's called chest, what's called a head voice, and what's in between those two places, which is called middle or mix. And the important thing is to learn how to move from one part of that range into another without putting a lot of strain on it, and at the same time getting balanced chord compression as one of the factors throughout all parts of your range. How can you learn how to do that? Come on over to totallyvocals.com. We have great courses. Just what I was speaking of there is in our intermediate voice course. You might need to learn the beginning voice course first, but we got a beginning voice course, we have an intermediate voice course, and on up into a very advanced voice course. And we also have many songs and breakdowns and all kinds of goodies over here on the site. Ear training as well. So come on over to totallyvocals.com and learn a lot more about singing.